Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Rapid urban growth in New York in the late 19th century led to more informal jobs, including child shoe shiners trying to add to family income, a direct result of the lack of strict labor laws that would only be debated decades later. As Papua New Guinea moved toward independence from Australian rule in 1970, cultural practices such as the Asaro Mudman ceremonies reinforced local identity, strengthening the value of tradition in the face of major political change ahead. During the Allied offensive in 1944 and World War II, Sergeant John Park served as a tank commander, reflecting the key role of armored vehicles in that conflict, and his loss underscored the harsh reality of battle while directly affecting the morale of American troops on the European front. After World War II ended in 1945, millions of soldiers returned to their home countries, reuniting with family and trying to rebuild bonds strained by forced distance, and this mass return directly influenced family reshaping and the start of the baby boom. A record of the Theater of Dionysus in Athens around 1880 marks a time when European interest in classical ruins directly advanced archaeological study, pushing preservation of the site and promoting new systematic digs in ancient Greece. The spread of in-car record players in the 1960s, highlighted by a Volvo P1800 shown in 1967 by Mike Summerby of Manchester City, symbolized the push for innovation and luxury, leading automakers to add entertainment technology to improve the driving experience. During the 1930s, Coca-Cola stood out by innovating soda distribution through fountain delivery cars, which helped the drink spread through soda fountains in the United States, strengthening the habit of drinking soda away from home and greatly expanding its market. In 1964, Toshiba developed an innovative device called the Viewphone that allowed calls with live video in real time. This sturdy machine is considered a direct forerunner of modern video calling, combining sound and image in a communication system that was advanced for its time. The clash between police and George Farley in Los Angeles, recorded in 1938, happened as the city faced rising urban crime driven by the Great Depression, leading authorities to strengthen crackdown and surveillance tactics in the decades that followed. After more than a century of soot from London's industrial era, Nelson's Column, installed in Trafalgar Square in 1843, received its first deep cleaning by the firm W. Larkins Collateed, restoring the monument's visibility and inspiring renewed care for the English capital's urban heritage. Coalfield workers in England endured long underground shifts to support their families on May 10, 1937, during a period of slow economic recovery in Britain. The soot and hard labor defined whole villages where coal mining shaped local culture. Inspired by the success of the film Ben-Hur and growing excitement for motorcycles in the 1930s, motorized chariot races like the Ben Hurley-Davidson event in New South Wales in 1936 show how technology transformed traditional sports and created new, fast-paced entertainment. In 1926, workers carried out painting at the top of the Woolworth Building, completed in 1913 and a landmark that strengthened New York as a center of modern architecture. The rise of this skyscraper inspired other monumental buildings and reshaped the city's skyline. In the early 1930s in Germany, engineer Max Weidenhoft tried to innovate in mobility by testing his rocket-powered bicycle, a bold attempt that reflected the experimentation spirit of the interwar era and encouraged advances that would influence later futuristic vehicles and aerospace technology. During the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, Geronimo's presence at the center of a group of Apaches highlighted the complex relationship between indigenous peoples and the United States government, shaped by forced assimilation policies that led to native cultures being displayed as exotic attractions. The opening ceremony of the 1896 Olympic Games in Athens marked the rebirth of the Olympics in the modern era, inspired by ancient Greek tradition, drawing crowds from around the world and triggering the regular return of international sports competitions every 4 years. During Ottoman repression against Armenians in 1895, women began taking an active role in organized resistance, as shown by 2 fighters with rifles ready for conflict, reflecting intensified Armenian resistance and a growing female role in defending the community. The derailment of a Santa Fe locomotive on January 25, 1948 in Los Angeles left it hanging about 19.7 feet above the road, highlighting safety risks in urban rail transport and leading the city to review procedures and strengthen inspections on busy lines. Found in Ekron, Israel, an ancient jar of burned figs reveals eating habits from about 3,100 years ago, when the city thrived as a major Philistine center, pointing not only to cooking practices, but also to farming routines tied to regional urban growth. In Los Angeles in 1934, storefront promotions showed the impact of the Great Depression, which pushed businesses to offer affordable meals and helped establish coffee shops as popular, welcoming gathering places in American cities. As early as 1917, recording bold moments was already becoming popular, shown by 2 men posing on the rocky edge of Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga, Tennessee, capturing the daring spirit of personal photography and influencing later generations to seek unique images. During the controversial 1933 Kentucky Derby, Don Meade and Herb Fisher were at the center of one of the most disputed and chaotic finishes in race history, known as the Fighting Finish, an episode that led to strict rule reviews to protect the integrity of competition. The release of multifunction home units like a set combining television, radio, and a bar in 1951 reflected post-war optimism and strengthened the home as the center of social life in the United States, encouraging gatherings and reshaping consumer and entertainment habits of the era. Children showed strong distrust toward promises of painless dental treatment in the United States during the 1920s. An ad for a pain-free dentist triggers anger in a young patient, showing how exaggerated marketing of the era affected trust between medical professionals and the public. During the 1950s, marketing campaigns in the United States tried to create new markets for coffee, a symbol of the post-war era, and creative promotional vehicles like the coffee pot directly helped popularize coffee across generations and encourage a habit that became national. During construction of the Empire State Building in New York, recorded on October 29, 1930, workers faced extreme danger to build what would become the tallest building in the world, speeding up skyscraper development and boosting the city's economic growth. Daleks parading through the streets of Cardiff in 1964, escorted by Inspector Glenn Pocket, highlights the immediate impact of Doctor Who's United Kingdom debut the year before, marking the start of a science fiction wave on British television and encouraging public events tied to pop culture. On May 25, 1858, veterans of the Napoleonic campaigns posed for a photograph marking the transition between living memories of the Napoleonic Wars and a new era that used photography to preserve the past and broaden access to visual historical documentation. During World War II, advertising campaigns in the United States encouraged people to invest in war bonds, as seen on a Pepsi Cola truck in 1943, strengthening funding for the war effort and reinforcing the consumption of national brands as a symbol of patriotism. Window washers working on 48th Street in New York reflect the rapid rise of skyscrapers in the 1950s, which increased demand for specialized building maintenance and led to the development of specific safety standards for workers at height. The British government created the Bevan Boys program in 1943 to address coal mine labor shortages at Markham Colliery in Yorkshire, drafting young men for underground work instead of the battlefield and securing essential energy supplies for the Allies' eventual victory. The tradition of giant balloon parades on Thanksgiving, established in New York in the early 20th century, gained even more attention in 1940 when attractions like a huge inflatable clown crossed Times Square, strengthening the holiday as a national event and a United States tourist draw. The M497 Black Beetle jet train set a United States rail speed record in 1966 by reaching 183 miles per hour, a direct result of research investment during the space race, when applying aviation technology to ground transport reflected American innovation ambitions. During the 1935 Venice Beach Mardi Gras Festival, carnival tradition became a strategy to strengthen local tourism in California amid the economic impact of the Great Depression, helping drive the regional growth of popular American festivals. During World War II in the 1940s, millions of American men served in the armed forces, increasing women's roles in the war effort and on the home front, which later contributed to stronger women's movements for civil rights and labor rights. During the 1930s, Stalingrad became a symbol of rapid industrialization promoted by Stalin, with workers using tools in large, newly built factories, a direct result of the first five-year plan launched in 1928 that boosted production and turned the city into a strategic industrial hub. During the Industrial Revolution, renewed value for skilled trades boosted jobs such as watchmaking, whose precision came to symbolize technical progress, influencing later generations and sparking the curiosity of students drawn to detail and the promise of social advancement through technical knowledge. Shipping a steam locomotive through the Port of Glasgow in 1952 reflects the post-World War II period when the United Kingdom exported rail technology to many countries, helping modernize transportation and speeding up global economic integration after the war. In 1938, Alfred Hitchcock and his wife boarded the ship Queen Mary, launched only 2 years earlier as a symbol of British engineering and transatlantic luxury, a preferred route for major film figures that further strengthened cultural exchange between Europe and the United States. The incident at the Monson Motor Lodge on June 18, 1964, in St. Augustine, Florida, showed aggressive resistance to black and white activists fighting to end segregation, underscoring the urgency of the civil rights movement and pushing the government to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In the same era, when the New York World's Fair showcased excitement for technological progress, families looked for new ways to have fun, such as bicycles built for multiple riders, which encouraged community experiences and creative solutions for city mobility. When Elsie Connor was recognized as a boxing champion in New York in 1931, her win broke barriers for women in combat sports, challenging the male-dominated scene of the time and bringing greater visibility to Irish and American female athletes. In Brittany in 1920, women's trades such as bobbin lace work gained renewed value, captured in the careful handwork shown by 3 women in traditional clothing, a direct result of the cultural revival after World War I. By 1957, Salvador Dali was already known for crossing boundaries between art and fashion, as shown by the credit stylist Salvador Dali, 1957, marking the Surrealists' involvement in style projects beyond painting, a direct result of the strong post-war dialogue between art and social behavior. In early 20th century Vienna, publicity showing women driving a car, as seen in a 1900 magazine, marked growing acceptance of automotive technology and challenged traditional gender roles, encouraging debate about women's independence in public spaces. During the intense German air campaign over London, known as the Blitz, Miss Iris Davis became known for rescuing more than 600 cats from destroyed buildings in 1940, a humane response that showed civilian solidarity and inspired organized animal protection efforts in wartime. In 1933, New York stood out for its skyscrapers lit up at night, a direct reflection of a building boom driven by Art Deco and earlier urban electrification, which strengthened the city as a symbol of global modernity and attracted international investment. Recorded at 103 years old, Louis Victor Bayeux wears medals on his chest that mark his service at the Battle of Waterloo, the 1815 clash that ended Napoleonic rule in Europe, leading to the restoration of the monarchy in France and reshaping the continent's political balance. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, anti-aircraft rockets were placed along the Florida Straits as a direct response to the Soviet threat of installing missiles in Cuba, raising tension and bringing the world to the edge of a nuclear crisis between the United States and the Soviet Union. Electric cars were already a reality in the early 20th century, a time when new technology encouraged many transportation experiments, which later led to gasoline-powered cars becoming the standard for decades. During World War I in 1915, biplane pilots began recording moments from their missions, as shown by the words WWII Biplane Pilot Selfie 1915 written on the photo, marking an early form of aerial self-portrait and influencing later visual records of combat aviation. In the early 20th century, performer John "Jammy" Reynolds became famous in New York for dangerous stunts on buildings, such as balancing on chairs high above the city, a bold act seen in 1910 that boosted public entertainment culture and strengthened urban fascination with extreme feats. The use of a grain harvester pulled by 30 horses in Washington in 1912 shows the shift from hand farming to mechanized processes in the United States, a key advance after the Industrial Revolution that allowed major gains in rural productivity. The Emerson School for Girls in Boston in 1850 highlights an important stage in the movement for women's education in the United States, an advance that opened doors for more women to access formal schooling and develop their intellectual abilities. The 1930s in Europe brought significant advances for women in public life, supported by broader access to transportation, such as the train, which grew more common then. New travel opportunities helped women enter new jobs and urban activities. During the historic 1910 Paris flood, the Seine overflowed, paralyzing the city and damaging areas near landmarks like the Eiffel Tower, leading to new urban policies focused on flood protection infrastructure and better drainage systems. When Elvis Presley posed beside his Messerschmitt bubble car in Memphis in 1956, he was already an icon of the emerging rock and roll scene, a phenomenon that reshaped global culture and created a youth audience with new buying power and influence in music and automobiles. During Oklahoma settlement in the late 19th century, traveling medicine sellers became known for visiting rural communities by wagon to promote and sell patent remedies, marking the rise of popular retail for drug products and shaping public trust in scientific-sounding novelties. During the Republic of China period in 1930, a chain-suspended bridge near the Zhongyu Hill Temple reflected efforts to connect isolated areas and encourage cultural exchange, easing access for pilgrims and merchants and promoting regional integration. During the filming of Popeye in 1980, Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall brought iconic characters to life under director Robert Altman, reflecting Hollywood investment in comic adaptations for film and helping open the door for later productions based on comic book characters. Red Hot Chili Peppers gained broader attention in 1989 after releasing the album Mother's Milk, reflecting the cultural energy of the 1980s alternative scene, boosting an innovative mix of funk and rock and paving the way for the band's global success in the next decade. Officials walking through the inside of one of the conduits marks the final stage of Hoover Dam construction, a project started during the Great Depression whose completion in 1936 enabled large-scale irrigation and electrification in the southwestern United States, driving regional growth. In the early 20th century, carriage manufacturing, like the work done by J. Plater in Buckinghamshire in 1903, represented the peak of transportation industry before the mass arrival of the automobile, boosting local jobs but soon facing the impact of rapid mechanization. The landing of American troops on June 6, 1944, marked the start of Operation Overlord, when Allied forces came ashore in Normandy to free France from the German government's control, an action that sped up Germany's collapse and set a decisive turning point in World War II. Underground at the Old Bend No. 8 mine in Pennsylvania, workers traveled 3.5 miles to the extraction face in 1939, showing the intensity of mining before stronger safety standards and later contributing to stricter laws protecting miners. With Fulton Street Station operating between 1878 and 1950, New York strengthened its elevated transit network, making it easier for a growing population to move around and directly driving commercial growth near places like Pearl Street and Maiden Lane. In the early 1970s, Chicago became a stage for urban and cultural innovation, reflected even in bicycle design, as stretch chopper bikes appealed to young people, encouraging customization of transportation and strengthening counterculture-style trends. In the late 19th century, neighborhoods like Mullins Alley in New York housed many immigrant families in poor conditions, a result of intense urban growth in the United States that helped push later urban reforms and child protection laws. When Howard Hughes finished the Hughes H-4 Spruce Goose in 1947, it set the record for the largest airplane ever built at the time, pushing the limits of aviation engineering, but it flew only once, a direct result of post-World War II restrictions tied to building with wood. The buildup of telegraph wires on a single pole in Pratt, Kansas in 1911 shows early signs of the strain of over-industrialization in growing towns, a direct result of rapidly expanding communications that brought not only technological progress, but also structural challenges for cities. When the British airship R-34 landed in Mineola, Long Island in 1919, it completed the first transatlantic crossing by an aircraft of its kind, strengthening confidence in intercontinental flight and pushing future research into long-distance air travel. Highlighting the name Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, points directly to Britain's Industrial Revolution, a key backdrop for the rise of modern detective fiction, whose popularity strongly shaped public interest in scientific investigation methods. By introducing standardized criminal portrait photos in 1912, Alphonse Bertillon transformed police identification, making it possible to catalog suspects reliably, which helped international cooperation among law enforcement and reduced cases of false identity in prisons. In 1915, the toughness of GMC trucks made operations like hauling logs possible, which was vital for expanding the lumber industry in the United States, resulting in major logistics improvements and directly contributing to the growth of road infrastructure. Swing, popular in the United States during the 1940s, defined dance floors as a symbol of vibrant post-Great Depression culture, encouraging racial integration in many clubs and helping cement jazz as an essential soundtrack of city life in that era. During the American Civil War, heavy use of Parrott rifle cannons, like the one shown after a failure in 1865, revealed both advances in warfare and the risks of developing technology, causing material and human losses that would push later improvements in military artillery. The Jeantot automobile, highlighted in Paris in 1898, was among the first motor vehicles produced in series between 1893 and 1907, marking the rise of France's auto industry, boosting city mobility, and deeply transforming transportation in major European cities. In 1932, the Women's Detention Facility on Roosevelt Island hosted activities that were unusual for institutions of that era. Marksmanship training was meant to include and prepare women with specific skills inside that New York institution before it was shut down years later. In 1935, the Hungarian engineer Stefan poses beside his complex mechanical creation packed with gauges and industrial switches. The device was surrounded by theories about making objects and people invisible, reflecting the era's fascination with experimental technology. Two workers staffed the counter of a bakery in Moscow during the 1950s with shelves full of breads and Soviet-era staples. The everyday scene shows the shop's organization and period work clothes, reflecting life and the economy in the Russian capital. In June 1949, New York City saw a curious demonstration of the double ender, a double mouthpiece pipe designed to be shared by two people at the same time. Made in an era of odd inventions, the item was meant to encourage socializing through tobacco use. In 1925, the fast pace of construction in New York transformed the city landscape and marked the rise of early skyscrapers, symbols of the decade's economic progress, helping establish the metropolis as the world's leading financial center at that time. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.